Good morning, comrades. It is a Wednesday, the 28th of the fourth month, which is April 2021. This is your Good Morning Comrade for today. How's everybody doing? I see we had Ginny in chat. A retweet would be good. A retweet. It's just a retweet. I'll just put it out there. So how are we doing today? We all right? I always love it when the Louisiana... First off, before we get into Louisiana, I can't with this. This is just like... Got to start the day. Whenever, we get a transmission from the former president, we have to read it. So yesterday, he put this statement, this wonderful, amazing statement out about the Oscars. This is one of those weird things that he's been doing because he's banned from Twitter and he can't go on social media. He's just got to get his tweets out, I guess, and he's now doing them with Save America letterhead, and it just says statement by Donald J. Trump, the 45th president of the United States. So what does he have to say that is so important that it gets into the hands of everybody? Hey, retweet it anyway. That's fine. Those people can follow along too. That it gets in the hands of everybody. So that they just blast it out and we get an official message from Donald J. Trump. What is it? Let's see. What used to be called the Academy Awards and is now called the Oscars, a far less important and elegant name, had the lowest television ratings in recorded history, even much lower than last year, which set another record low. If they keep up the current ridiculous formula, it will only get worse. If that's possible. Go back 15 years, look at the formula then they then use. Change the name back to the Academy Awards. Don't be so politically correct and boring and do it right. Also, bring back a great host. These television people spend all their time thinking about how to promote the Democrat Party, which is destroying our country, and cancel conservatives and Republicans. The formula certainly hasn't worked very well for the Academy. Incredible. Like, if this is real, right? Like, do we live in real life where, like, former presidents are just, like, running around? You have 4 followers. Yeah, follow them. Retweet that. No, former presidents are just like going out and just say, like, giving their review, their thumbs up or their thumbs down for the Oscars. Like, I'm sorry, the Academy Awards. Like, it's so bizarre. We live in the weirdest freaking world right now. That's just like insane. Speaking of bizarre, we do have, this is a little bit less fun. But it is equally as ridiculous, and it shows because Louisiana's in national news, folks. Louisiana has made national news. So let me just set it up and say our legislature in Louisiana is an absolute shit show, right? It's completely and utterly dominated by demon Republicans who basically come in every year. They try to find ways to try and cut taxes and specifically on the wealthy. They've been trying really hard for many years to go basically like to just like sales taxes, which, I mean, like when Bobby Jindal moved in that direction, who was the previous governor, like essentially bankrupt the state. So cool. This in keeping moving in that direction seems to be like on the menu. But anyway, one of the other things, beyond like outlawing abortion and, making sure that trans children are like teachers essentially have to report on a child if they, if they learn that they're trans or something like that. All these other horrible, like demonic things that the Louisiana legislature, specifically the Republicans, are forcing through. Here's another one. Louisiana state lawmakers suggest that schools should teach the good part of slavery. Sure, it was people owning other people and forcing them to work under threat of corporal punishment and death. But there was some good there, right? Here we go. GOP State Representative Ray Garofalo of Louisiana on Tuesday said that public schools and colleges should teach the, quote, good of slavery during discussions about race as part of a bill that he proposed. And this guy is the chair or the acting chair of the House Education Committee, by the way. As part of a bill that he proposed that would, quote, that would bar, quote, divisive concepts from classrooms. So he's just being a unifier, folks. Garofalo, who chairs the House Education Committee, said during a hearing on the bill, also known as HB 564, that his legislation sought to, quote, remove politics out of the classroom and cultivate, quote, a learning environment free of discrimination. So, I guess through the Garofalo filter, the perspective of antebellum slaveholders is the politics-free version of the good parts of imperialism. Yeah, of course, the good parts of all these horrible things. Well, let's talk about the good parts of the Holocaust while we're at it. Not to compare these things necessarily, but come on. When Garofalo began to explain how slavery could be taught in the classroom, his comments elicited derision. Quote, if you're having a discussion on slavery, then you can talk about everything dealing with slavery. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Here he is.
But what is a larger course of academic instruction?
If you're having a discussion on whatever the case may be on slavery, then you can talk about everything dealing with slavery, the good, the bad, the ugly.
There's no good to slavery, though.
Well, then whatever the case may be.
But what is a larger course of academic?
You hear the laughter though? That's that's the best part.
Academic instruction.
If you're having a discussion on whatever the case may be on slavery, then you can talk about everything dealing with slavery, the good, the bad, the ugly.
There's no good to slavery, though.
Well, then whatever the case may be. Well, then whatever the case may be.
Though.
Well, then whatever
to slavery, though.
Well, then whatever
slavery, though.
Well, then whatever the case may be.
But what is a larger course of academic?
I've been to some of these Louisiana Legislative Committee hearings too, and nobody's doing or saying anything. It's basically like a library in there. Getting that room to crack up is pretty funny. Garofalo's bill would have barred teaching that the U.S. tips to Bezos. What? Garofalo's bill would have barred teaching that the U.S. or Louisiana is, quote, systematically racist or sexist, among other requirements for exploring such issues in classroom discussions. Literal demons over here, folks. Literal demons just pushing this stuff. The bill would also ban the instruction of information that, quote, teaches advocates, acts upon, or promotes divisive concepts. So, history is just kumbaya since all the time. On Tuesday, the proposal stalled, but Garofalo was optimistic about rewriting some of the language in order to gain the support of some skeptical Republicans. However, a bipartisan group of committee members asked Garofalo not to bring back the bill during the current legislative session, according to the Associated Press. I'm not sure that we can get this bill in the correct posture this session, said Barbara Freiberg. So basically, thank God this might not get through. But I mean, again, it's sort of like what I mean. This is not the only state that is pushing for stuff like this. Like, I know that basically many states have been sort of like doing their own like state version of the like 1619 project sort of thing, or like the 1776 report, which is what the excuse me, which is what the essentially like the like conservative version of what history is, and now it's sort of been broken down into like a million little pieces, and it's been spread out to the states, and each state wants to adopt a similar kind of thing themselves. So the good parts of slavery, folks, the good parts of slavery. All right, somebody mentioned Jeff Bezos and it triggered me, so I have to corporations learned a lot from slavery. I mean, yeah, there's difference, but like, okay. I mean, that was definitely what filled the gap in the South after slavery was ended. Here is so Amazon is at it again. Speaking of corporations and speaking of, well, I mean, technically not slavery, but yeah, Amazon is back at it, launching another union busting campaign, folks. Surprised? I sure am. Yeah, Amazon has started showing anti-union messaging on TV screens at a Staten Island warehouse after defeating the unionization effort in Bessemer. So they're union busting. So that they're union busting up in New York. That's good. It's not just the one place. They're spreading out the corporate policy, folks. They're spreading it out. Amazon has embarked on a campaign to derail a nation union drive at its warehouse in Staten Island on the heels of a historic union election at the Amazon facility in Bessemer, Alabama, which the union lost in early April. On Monday, Amazon began displaying anti-union messaging on TV screens at one of its Staten Island warehouses known as JFK 8, which employs more than 5,000 workers. Quote, "Know the facts before you sign a union card," one of the screens in the warehouse reads, according to a photo obtained by Motherboard. "If someone asks you to provide your personal information or sign a union card, do not release your personal information without knowing all the facts." So, I mean, basically, if you just like take off this dependent clause or this, right here, yeah, it basically says don't sign a union card. Like straight up, you just take the rest of that off of there. That's just the only thing that they care about. Equal to opportunity impression. There you go. Unions must collect signed union authorization cards from at least a third of workers who are eligible to vote in a union election to qualify for an election with the NLRB. In recent days, Amazon has also sent out notifications to warehouse workers on its internal portal, known as Amazon A to Z, with a list of reasons for not signing union authorization cards. Speak for yourself. Union authorization cards are legally binding and not true, and authorize the union to act as your exclusive representative. This means you give up the right to speak for yourself. Bullshit. That's such bullshit. Don't sign away your choices. Signing a union authorization card may also obligate you to pay the union a monthly fee. It continued. Just complete lies. So there's the card. Protect your signature. You're under no obligation to speak with or share your personal contact information with anyone off property, especially if it makes you feel uncomfortable. Okay, shut up. I mean, this is ridiculous. Protect your signature. That is weird. That is weird language, isn't it? Protect your signature. Like the union's trying to steal your signature or something? I don't get it. Inspired by the election in Bessemer, a group of Amazon warehouse workers in Staten Island who call themselves the Congress of Essential Workers, or TCOEW, maybe rethink that, maybe refocus group that name, have embarked on a union drive that's good. They're cool, though. At several of Amazon's Staten Island facilities last week, organizers began collecting union authorization cards at a tent set up near the bus stop outside the facility. That's dope. But Amazon, the country's second largest employer in the United States and a fiercely anti-union company, has been swift to bring on the anti-union propaganda in Staten Island. Amazon did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Quote, "We've only been out here for 5 days, and they're already posting this stuff," said Christian Smalls, one of the lead organizers of the union. TCOEW. Ugh, you can't make a word out of that. Yeah, maybe Amazon didn't have any good slogans, so protect your signature. That's just weird formulation, just in general. Like protect your signature. Smalls formerly worked at JFK 8. So Chris Smalls is the guy who was fired. Yeah, at JFK 8, an Amazon facility in Staten Island, and was fired in March after leading a walkout at the facility during the pandemic. And he was later smeared by an Amazon executive as, quote, "not articulate or smart," like literally going straight to the racism part. Like, oh, well, he's black? Okay, cool. He's not smart, and he's not articulate. Also, he's a bad worker. Like, let me see if I can find the internal memo. It was pretty goddamn bad. Where's the memo? Where's the note? Yeah, here it is. Quote, "He's not smart or articulate, and to the extent the press wants to focus on us versus him, we will be in a much stronger PR position than simply explaining for the umpteenth time how they're going to protect workers." So this is like a leaked memo from Amazon. This is back in like March or April. This is like a year ago. But yeah, he let it walk out, and they're like, "Oh, we're not worried about him. He's not smart enough to organize a union," which is like constantly the line that bosses sort of like that is actually like a good example of like how actually cocky they are. "This is a union state," said Chris Smalls. "There are husbands, wives, and brothers and sisters who are in unions. Workers know this is a bunch of BS, and it's upsetting them." So TCOEW, which is organizing 3 Staten Island facilities, JFK 8, a massive fulfillment center, and the neighboring sortation center and delivery station, remains independent and unaffiliated with any large union. The union calls itself Amazon Labor Union, ALU. So that's different formation than what was up with RWDSU. They hopefully once they can get their election through. Workers involved in the Staten Island drive have also been pulled aside by management to watch a video about Amazon's Code of Business Conduct and Ethics. Oh God, Amazon loves ethics so much. You just can't. You can't say enough about how much they just love ethics. The anti-union rhetoric in Amazon Staten Island mirrors the messaging Amazon used to bust a recent union drive in this facility in Bessemer, Alabama, suggesting that unions drain workers of their earnings and strip workers of their voice on the job. Both of those things are lies. You make more money if you're a union worker, and you have more of a collective voice on the job, not less. You just don't act necessarily as much as an individual. Not when you're dealing with the boss, who would destroy you anyway. Like when do you think you have a collective voice? I mean, I'm sorry. Do you think you have a voice when talking to your boss, like individually? Like that's the weird thing too. Like it's just such a libertarian approach that they try and roll out, and people just buy it hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. Well, my International Workers Memorial Day. I know that Saturday is May Day, which is sick. I'm excited for May Day. In Bessemer, Amazon launched a full-blown union busting campaign that included anti-union text messages, mailers, mandatory meetings, banners, a website called doitwithoutdues.com, which we covered on this website, and care packages sent to workers' homes. The union representing the Amazon workers in Bessemer, the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, RWDSU, is asking the NLRB to throw aside the results of the election for preventing, quote, a free and uncoerced choice by the employees. A hearing is scheduled for May 7th, according to the union. Yeah, I did want to talk about that too. I want to talk about, where is it? I had it in my Discord open, but then Boomer Jeff didn't do the show prep. Yeah, here we go. This is from CNBC. But the NLRB next week will be hearing the objections to the Amazon election. And so, yeah, let's see what we got. The NLRB will be holding. You woke up early today. Is that bad? The NLRB will holding a hearing on May 7th to review objections to a recent union election at one of Amazon's Alabama warehouses. That's the one in Bessemer, the one that we keep talking about. The RWDSU accused Amazon of interfering in the closely watched union campaign held earlier this month at the Bessemer, Alabama warehouse. Employees overwhelmingly, this is according to CNBC, they rejected the union 2-1, with fewer than 30% of the votes tallied in favor of joining the union. The union requested that the labor board set aside the election results because of all of the union busting. Good morning, Sheriff. It's good to see you. The union accused Amazon of retaliating against pro-union employees and threatening widespread layoffs, which they definitely did do, and they threatened to close the facility if employees voted for the union. And there were many other complaints, including the signage in the bathroom, literally conspiring with the city to change the streetlights. Yeah, it's just so much. Amazon rejected RWDSU's claims that it interfered in the election. Quote, rather than accepting these employees' choice, the union seems determined to continue misrepresenting the facts in order to drive its own agenda. That's the Amazon spokesperson. So I don't know, like, I guess they could call for another election. Part of the problem in the election, so part of the problem with that, actually, Sheriff asks, why don't they put a ballot box at the warehouse itself? Amazon wanted that, and they actually basically bullied the post office into doing that. And the reason that would not be great, I mean, or especially when it's like a longer election, is that essentially you can have like when you're doing your union busting, you can essentially like force you can not force, but you can bully your employee into saying, going like, hey, go right there to that mailbox or ballot. It was a mailbox, but go back right over there and put your ballot in the way I'm telling you to do it, or all this bad shit's going to happen, right? All of the layoffs, and we're going to close this facility and all this other stuff. So it really is a huge issue. On the hearing below, we've seen, so it's a Biden NLRB. It's going to be different. Maybe they'll get a second chance at voting on this, but the problem really isn't, well, it is the union busting, but also like another huge part of the problem is that the way that a lot of these places are unionized or are organized as like a unit is, yeah, exactly. Yeah, a surveillance issue, a bullying issue, yeah, duress, exactly. I mean, I'm not saying that that's also like the reason why it lost, but like one of the major reasons is like when you have a part of a workplace that decides like, oh, we're the, part of the warehouse, we do this particular job, we have decided to unionize. A boss will then go to the NLRB and they'll sort of want to define that bargaining unit as large as possible. And so this is what happened the first time, is that when the bargaining unit was defined, it was like a certain sector of the warehouse that works together that that was like highly and densely sort of signed their union cards. They were heavy supporters. But the Trump NLRB at the time basically said, oh, no. You have to basically have the number of people that you need to organize for a union to be way higher, like triple. It was like 1,000 folks initially, and they redefined the bargaining unit to about 5,000. So it was sort of a really, like, it's a really, really common move that bosses roll out to make it harder to get a union. And then, I mean, there's more steps on the back end too. Even if they would have been successful, bosses can essentially not negotiate for a first contract until the workers essentially roll over and make conditions on the job worse as that process sort of plays out. So it's not optimal. I keeping an eye on this, just because I do like teaching people and talking to people about like this process, if you know what I mean. Like the more people that know about it, the better, I think. But the key thing to remember is that in the United States specifically, at every single possible turn, the laws definitely 100% favor the boss, the capitalists, and that's something that we definitely have to like. I mean, knowing that is the case is one thing, which is, I mean, fairly undeniable, right? But at the same time, knowing how it's the case means that you can like actually, strategize around ways that you can change it and make it better, in very specific ways. Moving on. Kind of sticking on the labor beat for a little bit longer. We have a story out of Washington, actually. And I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this, but anyway, Joe Biden has sort of established a task force to promote unions, which is, I mean, technically it's a good thing, like almost 100%. But the problem that I keep seeing with this, and we'll read the article in just a bit, like Joe Biden has been sort of positioned in a very empty way, if you ask me, as being a like union guy, if you know what I mean. Like, he's basically framed as such. He says he supports all the things that unions support. So he like if the PRO Act does get through Congress, which is a very, sketchy concept at this point, a sketchy prospect at this point, he would not like refuse to sign it or anything like that. He literally needs to be like forced over the barrel to do these things, though. He's like he's taking the position of not opposed more than anything else, which is like not the worst position to be in, I suppose. With this particular thing, but let's look on it here, because I haven't like seen all the details, so let's take a look at this. But I mean, I'll just tell you at the top, my concern is that this is just doing PR, that like Joe Biden is trying to do like a signaling from the White House and from the from Biden, that he just essentially wants to like be seen to be doing like the right things or whatever, without having to actually do anything, if that makes any sense. So President Biden on Monday signed an executive order creating a new White House task force focused on promoting labor unions that will be led by Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, Harris has like very little status as far as I understand. I mean, I could be wrong about this, but she has like no labor bona fides. She's an attorney general and a prosecutor. Now, does that necessarily mean a bad thing? I don't know. I don't think so, but it's very interesting that she's in charge of this. I don't think it's going to cause particularly any problems, but I guess we'll see. The executive order directs a new task force to make recommendations within 180 days on how already existing federal policies and programs can be used to help workers organize and collectively bargain in the public and private sectors. Okay, so this is actually like some kind of executive action that might be taken if the report. So, okay, let's see how this is constituted. The executive order, the task force will be dedicated to mobilizing the federal government's policies, programs, and practices to empower workers to organize and successfully bargain with their employers, said the White House fact sheet outlining the executive order. Among its goals, the task force will aim to bolster the use of labor unions in areas with restrictive labor laws and to empower female workers and people of color. The task force also aims to increase union membership across the country, including by promoting worker organizing and collective bargaining within the federal government. Biden is viewed favorably by labor leaders. I mean, I was watching a call last night, or a town hall last night that the AFL-CIO did, and like Richard Trumka, the president of the AFL-CIO, which is the biggest federation of labor unions in the U.S., like just gushing about Joe Biden, like just saying, oh yes, he is a union guy and that kind of thing, which just don't agree. He has sought to advance measures to raise wages, increase workers' power, but has thus been unable to deliver on major priorities. Now, come on, man. You're giving him way too much benefit of the doubt. Like, you're saying that he has sought to advance measures. Like, but yeah, I've been unable to deliver because, the goddamn parliamentarian. So it doesn't talk about how, well, okay, let's read here. I thank President Biden for creating this task force to address the urgent need of millions of American workers unable to exercise their right to join a union today. That's got to be Richard Trumka, right? No, that's somebody else. Union today because of its artificial legal barriers and rampant union busting. With today's action, he is continuing to deliver on his campaign promise to be the most pro-union, pro-worker president ever. That's AFG President Everett Kelly said. That's like Washington speak, man. I wish union leaders would not do that shit. Making it easier for workers to join a union will help more Americans share in better wages, benefits, and working conditions that come with union membership, growing our economy from the bottom up and the middle out. Yeah. I mean, that's like typical boilerplate. He also supported the PRO Act. He's long since supported that. I mean, like, I kind of think that this might be just, like, it's a signal that, like, he wants to do good things. He might actually, like, change some NLRB rules or something like that to make it easier to, organize unions on the job, perhaps. But, like, this is a, hey, look at the thing I'm doing kind of thing, I'm doing the thing that my constituency, in the labor movement really wants me to do. But, like, I don't see this as particularly significant unless I won't think this is particularly significant until I see something actually happen. Like, This doesn't change a single rule. Now, as soon as it changes one rule, for the better, I'll be that much more in favor of it. But as of right now, I mean, like, this is just a signal. This is just like, it's kind of virtue signaling, to be, a little bit controversial about it. He's basically just showing exactly like, hey, he wants credit for this, and that's the problem, like, deliver results before you get any credit. Yeah. So how's everybody doing? How we doing today? A little labor heavy on the episode, as you might expect from somebody like me. I did want to show y'all something. Hold on, let me find it. This morning when I woke up, my cats decided to just unroll an entire roll of paper towels and made themselves a bed. And this was the result. What's up, Twitter? This was supposed to be a GIF, but I don't know. Look at how comfortable Link is over here. She laid that like that for hours. Unrolled the paper towels, folks. That's the newest breaking cat news for today. So I want to talk a little bit more about Louisiana. We are not only do we have a bill written by the chair of the education committee that essentially wants to talk about the good sides of slavery, but we are now the latest state to lift our statewide mask mandate. So, folks, it's a little scary, I'm not going to lie, because COVID numbers are down. The vaccination levels are up, but like people I talk to, at least, are obviously very, very scared of, implications about what might happen. Our numbers going to spike. Have they spiked in other places? But now we've lifted the mask mandate in Louisiana, and that's just what cats do. I know, but like, paper towels are expensive. Texas wants to know what took you so long. Honestly, like, Louisiana following Texas on this kind of stuff is not abnormal. So let's take a look at here. With coronavirus vaccines widely available, Governor John Bel Edwards announced Tuesday that the end to Louisiana's mask mandate, returning power to businesses and local governments to set their own face covering restrictions. Weird framing. I guess part of the reason that we're just slightly behind is because, John Bel is a Democrat, even though he behaves very much like a Republican. Masks will still be required at K-12 schools, early childhood education centers, colleges and universities, hospitals, nursing homes, and public transit, and at some state government buildings, according to an order issued by Louisiana Department of Health. The loosened restrictions come as Louisiana settles into another week of near historic lows in COVID-19 infections, hospitalizations, and deaths. Meanwhile, vaccinations are steadily climbing, with more than a quarter of Louisianans fully inoculated as of Monday. Hey, I'm on that list. Edward repeatedly warned the public Tuesday not to mistake the easing of mask mandate as a sign that the pandemic is over. It is the most visual sign that we are in the middle of a pandemic is people wearing masks, and the visual sort of signifier of, like, people legally being no longer required to wear those masks is literally a sign that the pandemic is over. So, if you're warning people about not to make that mistake, you're either doing so very, very naively, or you're doing so in bad faith. Sorry, John Bel. hinting that restrictions could return if cases of the deadly virus again spiral out of control. And it's not like, the very funny thing is, he's like, here's your warning. And that warning is not that people are going to die from this disease. No, 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 no. The warning is, if too many people die from this disease, I might have to I might have to make you wear the masks again. How you like that? Like, that's the crazy thing, like the bizarre thing to me too. Like, yeah, exactly. The biggest possible signal is like, nobody's wearing masks anymore. I mean, there's no bigger signal than that. Even as he lifted the restrictions, Edwards continued to urge the public to wear face coverings and said that state government buildings under his purview will continue to require them. Other statewide officials will be able to opt their buildings out if they choose to do so. So, like, he's basically saying that, okay, look at me. I have actually no power in this situation anymore. I trust every individual that's in the government, and also every individual business owner and every individual parish to make the best possible decision for them, which basically means that most of basically New Orleans is going to be the only place that will continue to require masks outside of schools and stuff. I will continue to wear a mask when a good person, will continue to wear a mask when I'm in public, when I'm close to folks. I think it's the right thing to do for public health. It's also the respectful thing to do, Edwards said. We know that masks work. The science is clear. Jesus Christ. Like that kind of like, yeah, what do you want? Yeah. Edwards first implemented a statewide mask mandate in July of 2020 after a summer surge in coronavirus cases nudged him towards more stringent restrictions. Isn't it wild that it took till July? Like, thinking all the way back, like, isn't it wild that it took until July to require masks? Like, and it was like the mid-March, April, May, June, July, like almost 4 months. It almost took 4 months to decide, like, oh, wow, like hundreds of thousands of people are dying. We might as well put some masks on, right? Now, 10 months later, the onus is back on private businesses and local governments to decide whether they want to implement the mask mandate. No. It's not whether or not when they want to implement a mask mandate. It's whether or not they want to roll back the state level mandate. Still nowhere as bad as your governor, the AG that will sue your city if they try to put a mask mandate on you. Nice. Well, the Texas government has been going hog wild trying to ignore Corona as much as possible. Yeah. Well, I complain a lot about John Bell Edwards, but he at least doesn't, like, he pretends that he cares. He signals that, like, oh yes, this is real. The problem is he just gets completely destroyed by the absolutely demonic Louisiana legislature, which, as I said earlier, is trying to put through currently right now, in addition to rolling back abortion laws and basically outlawing abortion, and also making the lives of trans children in the schools more dangerous by forcing teachers to snitch on their kids if they find out they're trans. Also is rolling out a rule that would essentially say, literally in the chair of the education committee put forward a bill saying we have to teach the good parts of flavor. We covered that at the top of the show. Just gotta love the Louisiana legislature, and gotta love these cowboy Republicans that we have. It's just absolutely these fucking demons. New Orleans officials said Tuesday they're weighing changes to their own mask mandate, which requires face coverings in most public situations, but said revisions would not come for several days. Meanwhile, the officials in St. Tammany Parish said they wouldn't impose mandates, and leaders in East Baton Rouge and Jefferson Parish said the requirement will only extend to certain government buildings. So it's getting more murky and more murky. Edwards' announcement Tuesday came after hours of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said that fully vaccinated or not, people can safely go maskless outdoors when they walk. Yeah, this is about like what Tucker Carlson was talking about. And I wanted to actually, so basically, this is all just, a little bit more context. I did want to jump into, as a last little part, something that really got me fired up. And it requires some level of discussion. Oh, where is it? All right, here we go. We got to talk about this lunkhead again. It's Joe Rogan, folks. Sorry to do this again, but here we go. Joe Rogan essentially is telling young people that they shouldn't wear masks. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me reset. Joe Rogan is telling young people that they shouldn't get vaccinated. I beg your pardon. And like, why? Because they're healthy. Because they're the ones that are not at risk. And it's got like it fundamentally misunderstands let's look at the clip. It fundamentally misunderstands the sort of nature of a pandemic and the nature of public health. Let's take a look.
And people say, do you think it's safe to get vaccinated? I've said, yeah, I think for the most part, it's safe to get vaccinated. I do. But if you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no.
Yeah.
Are you healthy? Are you a healthy person? Like, look, don't do anything stupid, but you should take care of yourself.
It's about you and yourself. Like, that's the entire framing in it right here. And like literally, it's we'll finish the clip, but like literally the idea of a pandemic is public health for everyone else. The problem with a young person, don't be embarrassed. The problem with a young person getting COVID isn't that they might themselves die from it, even though they can, and they could have permanent damage from it, regardless of whether or not they're healthy, by the way. But it's the fact that you can also continue to spread that disease. And with the vaccination, you essentially are more protected yourself from the disease, one, and you're also, it lowers tremendously the levels of your ability to spread it. I would say don't be embarrassed that you like Joe Rogan, because like Joe Rogan is, and we talked a little bit about with Ben Burgess, he does have a genuinely broad appeal, and like you shouldn't feel bad that like you had some, that you like agree with his sort of, he's very twee about certain things, if you know what I mean. Like he's very sort of like curious, and he'll just like jump from like a surface level analysis of one thing to another, which is like where a lot of his worst takes come from, honestly. And like his take on, I mean, actually, I do want to address a comment that I got on another video later on, specifically with how he addresses trans issues, and it was a response to our conversation with Ben Burgess. But I'll talk about that in a little bit, because I think that it does require more conversation. But anyway, let's stick on this for a moment. No, like you shouldn't feel bad about like being like, I guess like there's something very affable and agreeable about the guy.
You should, if you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, like I don't think you need to worry about this.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
But there's a lot of jobs that will tell you you need to have this.
Well, that's what's starting to happen now.
People are worried about them doing it for their children, and we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
There's that you might have to have your children vaccinated, and I can tell you as someone who's both my children got the virus, it was nothing. I mean,
okay, so if both of his kids got the virus, now his kids are younger, and Joe Rogan is a wealthy dude, right? he can afford the medical care that's required and he probably has a decent relationship with his kid's doctor to the point where he can handle COVID much more easily than most people, right? So again, this is a very self-centric, individualized analysis by Joe Rogan. I would love for him to explain why vaccines work, or even why a UFC cage does not have holes in the fence. Why do the links have to interconnect? Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I hate to say that if someone's children died from this, I'm very sorry that happened. I'm not in any way diminishing that, but I'm saying the personal experience that my children had with COVID was nothing. One of the kids had a headache.
My personal anecdote is actually way more important than like any broad like actual studies on this particular issue. No, I'm gonna go with my own experience. You knew of Rogan way before his podcast days, so you had no interest in his takes when he started his show. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
The other one didn't feel good for a couple days.
Yeah.
Like maybe I mean not feel good. Like no big deal.
No, remember we're pushing 600,000 people that are dead from this, right? And again, the part of the issue that he's completely leaving out is the fact that this can pass through to other people, right? Your biggest pet peeve is when someone is saying, well, I don't do this thing, and then proceeding to say the thing as if they now have immunity. Yeah. Well, and again, that harkens back to what we were talking about with John Bell Edwards when he's like, hey, I'm still going to wear a mask because I'm a good person as well.
Coughing,
Right.
no achy, no like in agony. There was none of that. It was very mild. It was akin to them getting a cold.
Yeah, and you can have this thing where it's like you were saying, this virtue signaling and this kind of like theatrical display of I get the vaccine, what a good person I am, I care about everyone. But you're like, look,
I don't know who this guy is, but like the thing about a vaccine is literally like if you get a vaccine, he's calling it virtue signaling. You get a shot in the arm and that's it. Like if you choose to post whether or not you got the vaccine on Facebook, that's your business. That could be, I guess, like virtue signaling in some way. But like, I really kind of don't care if people are talking about their vaccine. Like, I'm happy to know, like, oh yes, this person's vaccinated. But like the fact that like getting the vaccine itself isn't virtue signaling, so that's bullshit right off its face.
my daughter's a lot younger than your kids, but I'm like, yeah, I'm not injecting my daughter with something to fucking virtue signal. Like, I'm not doing that. If there's something that she's of no risk, statistically has no risk from, I'm sorry, I'm not taking any experiment.
So statistically, children do have a risk, and there is a condition where children have like literal parts of their their body shut down, but like no risk. Good morning, choking on ashes. No risk, of course. Yeah, we're talking about Joe Rogan
in that, and that's my attitude.
But it's amazing that that's controversial.
Yeah,
that even saying that I'm not going to inject my child with the vaccine is controversial.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So, in the West Coast, I want to talk a little bit about like you didn't see I was live. That's okay. Like there were places, I think it was in New Orleans actually, after WrestleMania, which is like a pretty big event, right? It came here a couple of years ago. After WrestleMania, because there are like big pockets of mostly rich white people who don't get their kids vaccinated, there was actually an outbreak of the measles in the New Orleans area, which is like so extremely like vanishingly rare. And the part of the reason for that is because people are because of this anti-vaccine movement. And like this is exactly what Joe Rogan is pushing right now, literal anti-vaccine.
Because again, we are not talking about even the flu that we just found out killed 22,000 people last year. We're not talking about that.
Right.
We're talking about something that is not.
The flu killed 22,000 people. COVID killed 600,000 people. But go off.
Statistically dangerous for children. But
Yeah.
yet people still want you to get your child vaccinated, which is crazy to me.
Yeah,
Like you should be
that's
vaccinated
wild.
if
That is wild. Yeah, Joe Rogan's advice directly contradicts health experts who have called on all people above 16 to get the vaccine to curb the spread of the virus across the U.S., especially among vulnerable populations. Yeah, he started talking about kids, but then he also started like circling, like he started doing that after talking about like a 21-year-old. And right now the age is 16 to qualify. So yeah, Joe Rogan not sending his best. He's definitely pushing some anti-vaccine propaganda bullshit, and you got to call him out on it. He is an ape. He is like you know, a total surface level analysis of anything, if even that. Everything is very, very individualized for him, very, very sort of self-centered, and like we mentioned earlier, like anecdotal stories are way more sort of compelling to him than like anything more broadly. He sort of completely misses the point of like what a pandemic is and how you would combat it, because he's so like wrapped up in the individual thing. But yeah, I will discuss that comment that I saw in my other video, I guess tomorrow, because yeah, I do want to get into that in terms of like what Joe Rogan is doing a little bit more broadly, but I also don't want to like always talk about Joe Rogan. But yeah, anyway, you can check us out tomorrow at this time at 8:00. You can support our show by going to patreon.com/goodmorningcomrade. And we also have Discord that we're kind of getting underway. Just getting it's baby launched. But anyway, here is a link for that. If anybody wants to join in, you know, share some stories, I definitely will cover them on the show. And I also have, yeah. What happened there? I don't know. Definitely will have some more for y'all tomorrow, 8 a.m. Central, 9 Eastern if you must. Good Morning Comrade, goodmorningcomrade.com. Thanks, everybody. Love you. Bye. Oh, go watch Andrea. She's got more reporting from the Andrew Brown murder. I saw some of that video. Holy crap. All right. Later.